Thank you, Chairman Cirrus, and thank you to our witnesses. We're here to discuss the crisis of illegal migration from Central America and address its root causes. It's a timely topic, as President Biden caused the massive surge at the border, failed to understand how it happened, named the vice president in charge who has yet to visit the border, and failed to listen to members of his own administration and party who actually seem to get it. Unfortunately, there's no action other than a highly suspicious $87 million hotel bill, $350 a night per room, and as we saw yesterday, a $530 million no-bid contract, and I quote, potentially worth more than 12 times the group's most recently reported annual budget, according to Axios. But I'd also like to report that there are members at the State Department with whom I've had conversations who do get it. You can't just announce a $4 billion in cash payment, pass amnesty in the House, strike down all barriers, and when the rush to the border happens, expect people to believe it's Trump's fault. The administration is literally hanging a welcome sign at our border, but many Democrats are actually acknowledging quietly to us that that's stupid. And that gives me hope. You see, some of them recognize, like many of us, that there are 3 stages to migration. And if you would, consult the handout that I've provided at each of your seats. First, this committee meeting is being held to mainly address those push factors that you see on the handout that I've shared. Like improving the safety of people in their home countries and developing prosperity opportunities that make staying in their home country attractive. However, we should also reinstate path migration factors like recruiting the Mexican government to block its southern border, something the previous administration did, as well as reinstating barriers to entry and asylum agreements which disincentivize illegal migration. Since this hearing is primarily focused on push factors, I'd like to share my vision to solve those issues. We have an opportunity to address them as well as other foreign policy crises in one fell swoop. Let me first summarize the problems. Economic opportunity in Latin America was severely disadvantaged by the commodity boom and corresponding rise in currency values caused by China's growth. It became cheaper for Latin Americans to buy Chinese goods, and as they did, they lost their own manufacturing base and the corresponding jobs. That's problem one. China, on the other hand, gained those manufacturing jobs, creating a global dependency on that country that was on full display during the COVID crisis. That dependency is an issue for the United States, PPE, medications, problem 2. The loss of opportunity in Latin America, as my handout displays, has created a substantial push for migration out of Latin America and to our southern border, problem 3. However, instead of just throwing more cash at the problem with no accountability, we should redirect existing dollars already appropriated for Latin America to incentivize companies to move manufacturing from China to Latin America, decrease our dependency on China, increase manufacturing and job opportunities for our brothers and sisters to the south, and decrease the push factors and pressure on our southern border. This is a win-win-win. And I'm working on legislation to this effect and hope to collaborate across the aisle with you, Mr. Chairman, on this. In addition, I urge the Biden administration to fully implement the bipartisan United States Northern Triangle Enhanced Engagement Act enacted in the last Congress. This legislation, as Chairman Sears said, sponsored by former Foreign Affairs Chairman Eliot Engel, addresses significant issues in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Among other things, it requires the Secretary of State and heads of relevant agencies to implement a 5-year strategy. While there have been some improvements, there's still a lot of work to be done. And I urge the Biden administration to stop rescinding asylum cooperative agreements that were enacted by the last administration. The results of these policy reversals have been predictable. Rather than requiring migrants to remain in Mexico and their home countries for their claims to be processed, we've created a refugee crisis in American facilities. The Biden administration has gone so far as to offer federal employees 4 months of paid leave to care for migrant children. This is unsustainable. It's a public health emergency and humanitarian crisis. Migrants are risking their lives on the dangerous trek to the United States, and many are being violently and sexually exploited by human traffickers. Mind you, all of this during a global pandemic. We don't have the strategy or the resources to deal with this. President Biden must show he's serious about ending this crisis. Open borders lead to disaster, but it isn't too late to reverse course. The administration must do so immediately if we're to have any hope of stemming the flow of illegal immigration and the danger refugees face due to our open border process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield.